Okay, everything should work. Let me check it on the YouTube. Does it work? It does work in here. And it also does work on Twitch. So, hello everyone. Today I will be continuing on the thing that I have been doing previously. So I will work on Heroes of Might and Magic redesigns. And today I will be doing a Goblin because I decided the Cyclops is finished or nearly finished and it looked like this without the thing. And I don't want to work on it anymore at this time. So yeah, Goblin time. And as always, if anyone has any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask. If any of you did any artworks and you would like me to look at them, feel free to send them. And yeah, oh, I hope this one is not going to take 3 months. I will try to be a little bit more consistent. Yeah, so this is this, and also there's a Discord channel, as anyone knows. So link is in the description. And I forgot that I wanted to use my standing desk while doing all this, so now I'm standing. So 2 hours, I guess, is a max, and then I will get like tired and I won't be willing to stand anymore. So this one is a sketch that I had previously. I no longer like it. I kind of feel it should be upgraded. So I feel there is a lot of room for improvement for this sketch, especially on the pose, since usually the poses that I do are the weak part. So I have been doing a bit of a search for some references, mostly for the light and for the shadows, just for the sake also of looking at some nice pictures. Oh, nice. If Twitch works, then this is amazing. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, those are some references that I found. Especially this one is really nice. The horse or whatever it is, like donkey horse or whatever, looks really cool. And also on this guy, the reflections from the ground looks extremely cool. But I also really like this one with all the deep shadows and whatnot. So those are like nice references for the background. Also, this one has amazing clouds in it. I might get inspired by those later if I will refine the background, but those are cool. And for the Goblin, I have been searching for some like tribesman or something like this alongside the lines. So I found this. I really dig the anatomy of this guy. It looks like really odd in a sense, but like a really solid and kind of really strong. And I really dig this pose, like just going through the bushes, like searching for something. So I feel I will go for this one. And this is also nice, but it's a little bit too casual for the monster. So I think combination of these two will be the thing I will be sticking with. So let me just control copy them so I could see them. And also I have been thinking about the size of this guy because the previous sketch that I did to be in the scale with the game more or less should be like this. So it will be turbo small. And I guess like nobody cares and I will just enlarge him. So the scale is a bit off, but it should be better. I want the head to be above the horizon line, so it will make a little bit more sense. Also for the future me, I think I will start designing everything like if I would know what I need to design from the smallest character. So I can adjust the horizon line to the smallest character and then proceed with all the other things. So maybe it will make a little bit more sense. So yeah, I guess I will start doing the thing, the sketch. So with those I want to be like really like loose. So I don't want to really overthink those, and I kind of want them to come naturally to me. I won't really care about the line quality. What I care mostly is the volume, the shapes, and just the cool look for the lines. So out of like 20 lines that I do, maybe one of those lines will be actually the one that I want to have. And one of the things that I wanna do is to actually maybe use a color red to mark for myself like the important points, so like the claviculars and everything, so I can like do a sketch in a multicolored manner. This way, maybe it will be a bit easier for me to control like what is going on the entire sketch. Also, I need to turn on the thing, and yeah. And also even for the clothes of these guys, it looks kinda cool. I kinda like the fact that this guy should be kinda hunched back, hunched forward, so he will be kinda showing that he is a bit tired or something along those lines. But yeah, for the lines, it should go kinda like this. So the anatomy of a goblin is like really similar to the human anatomy, I would say. At least in the source material, in the source reference from the game. But the thing that I think I'm going to do is to increase the length of the forearms. So the forearms, in my opinion, should be significantly like longer. So it would make them slightly more interesting. And also I will make the head significantly bigger. So this is usually the cheapest way to show that something is a bit smaller in nature. Like usually big head equals something is small. And the thing that I really like also that I have not really noticed previously is the fact that when you look to the side, you kind of naturally move your chin more to the side than your eyes. So the head slightly like tilts because of it. So if I will be doing this, the face direction should go a little bit more like this. And the idea for doing first the like black sketch and the red sketch at the same time just occurred to me like 10 minutes ago or something like this. And I think it's kind of neat because at the same time it kind of allows me to draw the character and give myself kind of like a visual feedback for it, so I can like rework the sketch in the same time, like actively compare it. So yeah, and I really like the anatomy on the leg of this guy. So also while doing those type of things, it's good to be aware of the pose in a sense that if it's balanced or if it's not balanced. Yeah, no problems. But yeah, it does. Actually, from one of the things that I like, one of the really good critiques recently I got was about being aware of the pose, and I started like experimenting with the poses, even with the subtle things. So I might even go for, where is my broomstick? Okay, I don't know where's my broomstick. Soon I will find it. But when actually doing art, it's good to stand up. While actually me standing up is kind of okay, and just actively think on what the pose is doing. And I started to notice all the subtleties. For example, like if I move like one leg forward, then the left, like right leg forward, the left hip rises up, and all those small type of details. Even in this guy, it's kind of, you can see that it goes like this, more or less. So in my case, the hip placement is not correct. The hip placement should go more like this. And if I want to test it, I can like can make a walk, and I kind of feel the leg that is in front, the hip is kind of like going lower. Yes? No. Wait. Forward. Maybe slightly. I will need to experiment on this more. So this is being aware of what is happening with my body is quite helpful. I might move the leg here. And I kind of like those like poses made by all those like tribes people and bushmans and everything, because they always stand they kind of move in this like weird, a bit awkward manner in a sense. And I have been watching some videos with them about them, and they just move differently. They like move in a way that is a bit more natural in a sense, and it makes the entire thing looks a bit odd. I want the goblin to be like this. And because of this, they look slightly unnatural while doing so. So yeah. And instead of the bow, I will be giving him the spear, because this guy in a game has a spear. So there will be like, I want him to have a spear, but also the spear can be like stupidly long, which will also fill the canvas a little bit more, because it can just be a bit bigger, and it will kind of justify all the empty space above him. So I can also put him slightly off center. Also, one nice thing, one like small tip: if you are having a center of your artwork in here, it's good to avoid putting the face like literally in the center. It's usually okay idea to move it slightly to the left or to the right. In this case, I move it to the right side because the left side is like is going out. So yeah. So this is why I decided to do something like this. And also let me create a new window for this thing, just in case it crashes. So yeah, this is like the reasoning. I will try to not turn on the reference that I have, because I kind of want to do him from a little bit more from the memory, and yeah. Now I kind of wonder if I maybe want him to stand like this instead of like being kind of like hunched, because they should have like a relatively good posture while standing like this. This feet can go a little bit more to the side, and this arm can like really hang. So if this arm I can really show, and also because he is like standing like this, and he is just, wait, if I will stand like this straight, and then on the opposite arm I have a stick, yeah, actually this shoulder will be slightly lower. We'll do something a little bit more like this, because this arm is kind of like resting. So he's like right like this. So this pelvis is going up because he's like resting his body weight on this, and this pelvis is going slightly down because in my case he is kind of like resting again. So I need to move this leg slightly to the side. Perhaps. Yep. Slightly to the side. And I can give him some gut, some sort of like a bit more full shape of a belly, but still to give him a little bit bigger head. So they can kind of have like a childish proportions in a sense. But there's also something really creepy about big heads. Big heads. So yeah. And this arm, I want it to just like hang freely. So because this arm is kind of hanging freely, it's like weight him down. I can imagine this arm will be slightly like more to the side. And I dig the pouch that he has. The pouch actually is a really nice thing. I will add it to the design because I like it. And I remember he had like this grassy type of a skirt. So let me just quickly search for the reference for it. Grass skirt. So hula hula. Tribe. Because maybe I will find something interesting. But not much more. Not a lot of things are interesting. Some belts. Yeah, this is the best I will get. So let me place it. Yeah, something like this. So I basically want to have him something like this. Nice thing is this like leathers on in front, kind of like shirts in a sense. This makes sense. Also, how big is the goblin now? Perhaps he is almost 3000 pixels tall. So enough, more than enough to paint. And also the thing I have been saying for the Cyclops, the white paint on him, on the character. This looks neat. Also in the one of the references I have seen, those guys had like leather thingies on their legs. I might add them as well because I do enjoy them. I think it looked interesting. So it was like leather just on the feet, kind of like additional protection from the grass. And it kind of makes sense even for this guy because he's like going out barefoot everywhere. And I also need to turn on, because I don't remember the facial. Oh no, I don't want to turn on the reference. Let me save it. And okay, and for the face, I will base the face roughly on this guy because the perspective is nice. So I'm going to move the face in here. And yeah. I also like the expression that he has. It's like kinda like there's something off with it. And those guys in the original had like those longer like hairs type of a dreadlocks or whatever. I notice a lot of like tribes people have this like smaller dreadlocks all over their head. So I kind of feel it fits also to the theme, but I want them to be slightly longer than in here, and I want to give him like the longer ears. And actually a long big ear for a goblin on a plains, like on the area where maybe it's not like scorching hot, but it's hot. Those things may really help to disperse the temperature, kind of like elephants do. Because the elephants have the big ear to control the body temperature. Temp. I guess I will just use the shorter version, temp. So yeah, it is kind of making sense to include it. And a bigger nose, so. Because also the one, how did the face look like from the one that I had? Yeah, I kind of liked it. I forgot about it. Let me also place it in here. I like the eyes, a little bit more like crazy intense eyes. I forgot I want to have something like this. It would be a little bit more like intense looking and angry. And I kind of like this bob type of a hair thingy. And with the bones definitely I want to have them because they just look cool. They might also drop in some interesting shadows, but I will have to like think them through a bit more. Balls, some like stuffed tight to everything. Also, they could have like something in here to make this weird ass looking like hat. I kind of want them to be also on the more awkward side in terms of like looking. So the facial features should be slightly exaggerated and should be on the odd kind of side. I like the nose ring though, it should be like bigger. I guess I will add the nose ring last. So how much neck can we see? If the bones are here, this will be pretty much the neck. Yeah, something like this works. I'm not sure if I like it better, but I do enjoy the fact that it's a new sketch, so it is fine. And I do like the pouch. The pouch is neat. And the pec muscles, they actually can have slightly distorted anatomy. So for example, the pectoralis, like the chest muscles can be bigger, kinda bigger, and more flat. And same thing for the abdominals. I really like those. It kind of looks like a bread. It's so like dry. I do enjoy it. And the deep collar bones. Also, those guys have naturally like much bigger forearms. I guess due to the fact that they pretty much work all the time with everything with their hands, and they I guess carry a lot of like spears and stuff like this, so they naturally get some muscle development, like practical muscle. And I want the skirt to be just above the knee level, so I can showcase some of the knee. So I feel the knee has a really interesting type of a details always to it. And some shit can like hang from it, so like sticks and stuff and things like this. So yeah, I always was thinking about to give him some like small shield or something like this. This will be slightly changing the original design, but I don't think it's a big problem. Let me just search for right shield. For some shapes, yeah, there's always this like almond type of a shape design. Yeah, the almond shape will be sufficient enough. More like a side view for it. How do you actually hold it? I think it is hold. Well, actually, it's kind of big. Okay, this is a shield that you basically hold in your hand. So maybe he should hold it like this. Stupid. This is the line for the shield. Then so the shield will go like this. Do I want the shield? I don't think so, but maybe. Later I will decide. So let me increase the opacity to like 50% and let me lower the opacity and draw a relatively clean line art. So yeah. So as always, again, if anyone have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask. I'm reducing the flow because, oh no, you can't see it. I'm reducing the flow to like around 20-30% because I noticed like reducing the flow really makes the all the brushes, it makes them feel much more, how to say it, like actual pencils, something like this. So this is one of the hefty tricks. And give me a second. I forgot to turn off the light. So yeah, let me only check if if it works here. It does. Okay. So it will go like this. And I really enjoy the shape on his cheekbones. It's like really prominent. Honestly, I don't plan anything at this point because every time when I plan something, it gets derailed to the point where I feel even guilty. So I'm not planning anything. It will be done when it's over. So, but I hope it won't take as long as the previous one. So maybe I will today do like a line art and blocking of the shapes and colors. On the next stream I will log the shadows and stuff, and then it will be like 2 or 3 streams for the rendering because yeah, it might take along these lines in terms of times. So it's not like the most interesting creature of all that I have in here, but since again I'm not in a rush to finish them as soon as possible, I can enjoy them a bit more. They might have like a thicker bottom lip. All right. And yeah, and also always when you are drawing faces, remember to flip canvas horizontal and vertical, because flipping those will show you what is pretty much incorrect, like almost immediately. This is like the cheapest way to search for the errors and mistakes and everything. So maybe I will give him the eyes a bit closer. This looks odd, but definitely fits this character, because I want them to be slightly on the odd side and to kind of be a bit more awkward. So it also makes them look a bit dumber, and I don't want them to, yeah, I mean, it is a scary thing, but I should do it. It's better to save the image early in the process instead of then like trying to fix it in the end. Yeah, but also with the narrowly placed eyes, it always gave me the idea of something looks just a little bit more like silly and stupid. So this is like one of the trait I want this guy to have. And if this eyes, yeah, and if this ear would be so long, I guess it could kind of connect to the bottom part of a jaw. It would make sense to like elongate the ear along this line. Then I guess this is the lobe part of it. And in this case, the hair will be tied with, I have no idea what, some like strings or whatever, or bandages, or something like this, but yeah. Rendering the hair definitely will be an interesting process. Also, maybe some hair strands could be like grown longer. So they will be a little bit more visible. Well, I mean, they will serve as something to tie the bones with. for the bones, I guess I also should have used some references, but the general shape of a bone might be enough for this to make sense. And one of the things, remember that the bones will be stacked in a manner that this is like one cylinder, this is like the second cylinder on top of it, and the third one can go like maybe through them, maybe they can be carved to like create a solid shape. It would make sense to do something like this, so they would intersect, what would make stacking them together much easier, and also it most likely would make them hold together better. Just a speculation, but it might be the case. He kinda looks like a gremlin, but I don't mind it. Let me grab this gentleman body so I can steal some ideas for the rest of the anatomy. Bit more flat. The neck. And also from time to time when I will be drawing stuff like this, I will be also marking some like lines wrapping around the geometry. So in one case it can work as wrinkles and stuff like this, because this is pretty much how wrinkles would apply. But on the other hand, it can also show me the shape of the geometry. So I will remember that this, for example, is rounded and stuff like this. So it allows me to make the geometry a little bit more readable. And with areas like this, they are kind of tricky from time to time to draw, because it's hard to decide where to draw a line. So I like to draw like several lines to just like showcase something is happening in there, and again add some of the lines that will like define the shape, everything. Also in here you can really nicely see how the clavicular bone goes in here, and the top of the deltoid. The top will be like going here and just like wrapping around to the side of the arm. I could also already grab this guy's arm, because the position that I want his arm to be is kinda similar. But the thing I like most are the chest area and all this. Oh, wrong layer. Okay, this is a good layer. And yeah, the chest area and all those wrinkles on the chest and whatnot. Also, you can really nicely see the ribs protruding from the chest area. Also, because this is like a relatively smaller creature, this goblin, I can imagine he might have less ribs. So like if he must have like 12 or something like this, I can't remember this number. They could easily have like less, like 10, 8, something like this. Would make sense for the smaller creature to have like simplified anatomy. And definitely in this guy, I don't want him to be like visibly ripped. I want him to be on the like this type of a body composition levels. So you can clearly see some muscles, but the definition is not like ultra sharp. So it's not like all the muscles are like sculpted to the bone. He is not like shredded. He will have some like fat tissue here and there. And because he's smaller, he can be a little bit more like barrel-y, kind of like a barrel in a shape. So in here they will go like the rib cage area. So it goes like this, and this back is kind of like stretching a bit. because he is like reaching with this hand. So in this case, because when you are drawing a rib cage, you can have different shapes of a rib cage. Like the typical one that most people is drawing is something like this, but it can be as wild as this, so it's going like inside, or it can like create a really strong arc. It can sometimes be even like this. It can be like really wide. So it all depends on what you want to achieve to decide what type of a anatomy your character should have. I really like those wrinkles on the stomach on this area. It looks really neat. And also to give him this like semi-visible six-pack, like really big muscles. He has definitely a really strong core. And the obliques should be also visible. So like this, yeah, rounding like that. It seemed to make sense. And the skirt. So the skirt I will mostly do like an outline, because I guess I will photo brush it into the painting maybe, and just paint over it, or maybe I will paint it from the scratch. Let's see. I will see, but at this moment I kind of wanted to just like mark it. On a separate layer I will draw the sash going over, because I want the sash to be here. And the sash can be filled like with anything that Goblin might use, so I don't know, dried meat, some rocks, stones, or just to keep something in it. I don't know what Goblin could hold in his possession. Basically dissecting this guy into parts. And yeah. And the knees. I definitely want the knees to be like visibly like strong. So I want this part where the knee is like really powerful, like the widest part of the knee to be visible, and this area with the tendon, I believe, because the muscle is like going like this, something like this, and it like holds to the tendon in here. And this leather on his legs. Most likely I will like redo it several times, because I kinda sucks at drawing folds and wrinkles. This is like one of my weak points. I never studied the topic properly. And the feet. Go like this with a bit longer claws. So yeah, and from the other things that I don't know might be vaguely interested, I bought recently a fuckload of cards. So I got myself, I have no idea if you will be able to see it without me demolishing it, but what? Yeah, there is some like Magic the Gathering cards. I bought over 2000 of them. So I will be doing some decks and playing Magic again. So yeah, there is this. Time to go back to the old addiction. Now when the cards came finally over to my place, now I can like again play Magic the Gathering. So the plan for my deck that I want to make is to make some sort of a black-blue zombie meal type of a deck. So it will be like batshit annoying, and I do enjoy playing annoying decks. So it will be funny to annoy a friend of mine with milling his entire like library to the graveyard, and to generally just like play Magic the Gathering. Is just like a really enjoying, really interesting and enjoyable game. And also a lot of cool images is there. Magic is definitely one of the best resources for art as a references and to search for cool artists and everything. I remember like 5 years ago I gave myself a challenge to have 2 more years or something like this to work for Magic. Never happened, but maybe at some point it will happen. But yeah. Magic the Gathering is cool. And also one of the planeswalkers that I got in there was painted by David Raposa, which is also one of my favorite artists. So yeah, it's nice. And this guy will only have like 4 toes because yes, this is how I decided he will be. I was drawing on the wrong layer again. Yes, of course I was. A really handy trick, if any of you don't know, really often if you are cutting something and pasting in Ctrl V, it just pastes in a different place. It's extremely annoying because then you have to like move it and match it and everything. If you copy something, then just do Ctrl Shift V and it will place it exactly in the same spot as you copied it from. So it's one of the handiest, the best shortcuts that is there in Photoshop to date. So it makes copying and pasting everything really easy. And for the skirt, I want the fact that it's basically based on the ellipse to be visible, so it won't be like a straight line. It will go like a bit up on the sides. So yeah. Hello, Shogunate. So yeah, it will go like this. And I kind of fancy the like this part to be like leather of some sort of an animal, like those guys have it. Maybe carved in some shape, so it could be like cut like this for some reason. Maybe like this. Maybe like this. Yeah, I do enjoy it. So this is like a partially leather of some animal. That it is in here. And let me just copy the hand that he has in here. So there is like the part for the thumb. Then we have like the box for the actual hand. And the thumb with the bone. And the first set of fingers, this bent and the bent. And the rest of the fingers will be barely visible, but they will feel the shape in the behind. So there is the hand. This should be like flat and slightly thicker in the area of the wrist. Then those English names are wild. Okay. And now this hand according to the hand of this guy. Unfortunately, this arm is kind of obscured by all the grass and everything that is happening around it, but I mostly want to slightly use it as a reference for the bicep and the forearm area, because those areas are just like tricky. So it's like the bicep basically goes between, like in the middle of the muscles in here. So you have something like this on your forearm, and the bicep basically goes in here between those muscles. So it can connect to the radialis or something like this. I don't remember. There was a name. But yeah, this is how the bicep works. And it actually has like this really cool tendon that like wraps around the thing, so it's much more like stable and sturdy and everything. And in here also you can clearly nicely see how the peg kind of connects to the arm like bone, and how it like wraps around the bone with the deltoid. And the bulge in here is actually a tricep hanging. So whenever you are drawing an arm that is kind of like raised or something like this, remember most likely you will see a bit of it from the side, and most likely you will see a tricep hanging like in here. It's really visible in bodybuilder front when they are doing the front T-pose. I guess it will be a crucifix pose. Yeah, crucifix. So let's take this guy. And this is apparently guy cisterna from the Google, as Google says, so you can see those muscles, just like the tricep is hanging. So yeah. They are also greedy. Yes, this is like the, let's say, the stereotype of a goblin, but I mean, in typical fantasy, yes, you are absolutely correct. But I would say I tend to avoid those type of generalized statements about creatures. I mean, I like stereotypes and generalizing and everything because, like, yeah, I do think stereotypes come from somewhere. Like, they are based on something. And recently also I was talking about it with my girlfriend. We don't agree on this topic at all. But the thing is, in this case, I want them to be like the lowest tier monster in some sort of a like barbarian type of a city. So I guess they will still decorate themselves with some bones and whatnots, and they will paint some things on themselves because they just like to. But I don't think in like a barbarian oriented city where you have creatures that are basically like 3 or 4 times bigger than you, that you are going to hold to anything mm, that has like a higher value. Most likely it will be like taken from them. There's something wrong with this shape, I don't know what. Yeah, but also the thing is, they might be portrayed as greedy because they tend also to be portrayed as stupid, and usually we could say that things that are kind of stupid are a bit more greedy because they value the material things a bit more. So yeah, let me actually. Do I have anything that I could grab? No. So I wanted to grab something, so I will have the reference for the stick. Yes, in here it's barely visible, but he's also holding it in a odd way. So it's like this, like this. So yeah, but that depends. I mean, on the type of the creature, and of course on the settings. Because for example, if I would do, I don't know, let's say pirate goblins, because I have some pirate cards in here. They could and they should be like extremely greedy, like much greedier than usual, than typical goblins. And some goblins that is living near a cave can be much more greedy. I guess it depends on the setting. Uh, so this is a relatively nice ref. Yeah, I feel usually when people are doing reference photos, they do every single angle apart from the one that I do need. So let me try to just pause. No, the cam is in the wrong place for me to, but I can send myself a photo. Let me quickly grab a photo. Where am I in my contacts? Yeah, so live doing of the reference photographs. I want it to be below the horizon. And wait, how am I? Yeah, I'm going to pose myself as the character. Just try to grab a photo. So I will have a better reference. Oh my god. Okay. I have the photo. Yep, I did. I did finish the Elden Ring. I had a blast. The game is amazing. In the previous stream, I have been talking about it. I extremely enjoy Elden Ring. It's one of the best games ever made, in my opinion. So yeah. Woohoo. The reference is here. Ah yeah, now I can also see what was wrong with it. So yeah, I do have a build of a goblin, it seems. So the bicep should be slightly more higher. The delt slightly longer. And the forearm I need to make slightly longer because I want him to have like longer forearm. So let's go like this and it should be okay-ish. Whoops. And this should have slightly more rounded shape, so it will like actually behave properly. Yeah, and I want the arm to be, this is one of the things that I forgot, to be slightly more bent. So there will be a bit more visible of an edge in here. So basically in here, this part, well, this part is a bone. It's like an elbow. So in here you can have like this sharper edge. And then we'll go with like the rest of the arm. And the perspective for the arm like matters, but not that much because like even if you have like the horizon slight movements here and there, like it won't look extremely incorrect even if you will draw it slightly incorrect in terms of like the perspective. So it does matter, but it does not matter that much. And a bit of a longer finger, because since this is like below the horizon, it should be slightly shorter. I don't know him as an artist, but I do really like the creatures from the Harry Potter. Recently, I have been like watching with my significant other the first part, and I really like the goblins. They just like they look like proper goblins, I would say. They are like pretty goblins, and yeah, as typical, they are portrayed as a greedy creatures, but I do enjoy the designs in the Harry Potter, especially also the troll, the big guy from the toilet. He was also portrayed in a really nice manner. I really like that he was like this, like a typical troll. He was like big, stupid, and just like moving in a really odd manner. He was just like a proper troll, I would say. So yeah, those are really nice. Honestly, from the last things that I have kind of learned is never do anything without any solid references, and long story short, it's impossible to draw properly a human like in the perspective from the imagination from the get-go, because you will never figure out the exact anatomy. You can make like the educated guess, you can do something that will be close enough, but you will never do the perfect thing. So the easiest thing that you can do is to pose a character in 3D, build the entire space in 3D, and use this as a guide, as a reference. This is like the easiest thing. Previously, it was done in a way that you will take a photo and you will just use a photo as a reference. And in this case, I am not really going outside anything like too special in a sense, because I have the general idea on where I do have the character. So let me just draw on the new layer. So if I have a horizon line more or less in here, and let's say for the sake of making it a bit easier, like one of my vanishing points is in here. So, and let's say this is like my second vanishing point, like it will go there. So if I will divide this line to the half, connect it with this half more or less, whoops, more or less this will be like my perspective type of a grid. So I do have the general understand. I do generally understand how, for example, the box will behave in this space. Of course, this is not like a 100% proper grid, but it will do the job done. So for example, I will know that if this is like a box in the perspective, with like some slight inaccuracies, I do know that, for example, the ellipse in here should look more or less like this. I will understand that if there is a leg and there is a leg, this is this direction, this will go this direction, so they will like meet like at this point in the ground. I do understand like this line basically goes to the front of this box, so I should maybe draw this box in a different place, but it gives me like the general understanding of, okay, if this is like a horizon line, then if the arms are like parallel to each other, there should be pretty much on the same line, because this is like the horizon. But since I want one of the arm to go slightly lower and one go slightly upper, I basically move the entire thing to this direction. I just try to think on how this box will pretty much behave in a space. So if I want like one pelvis to be slightly higher, I just try to imagine how the box will behave in a space when it's like kind of distorted type of a thing, how it will like rotate and everything. Well, so this is one of the things how I tend to figure out the perspective, but I would say I kind of do this part in my head because I want to train myself to be able to do it without constructing everything. So I will be just faster and a little bit more efficient. But for this type of a stuff, the perspective don't really matter that much. In a sense, if I will draw this face slightly more like going down instead of like showing it from the below because it's above the horizon, nothing will happen pretty much at all. But with the dynamic poses, use references, use some 3D models, there's like too many things going on to make it like really correct. But if you would like still to try to do it without the references, you can always start with like some grids. So for example, again, you will have a perspective grid. So let's say I will have a perspective that if I would draw a box in it, it will look like this. And this gives me a lot of information about the perspective, like what are the lines, how everything is like going in the perspective. Of course, I did it incorrectly in the beginning. Something like this, let's say. For the depth, something like this for the width. And then I can think on the, for example, points. So if I would know that the body of my character is here, and I know the pose, I know those lines need to follow the horizon lines. So if they're like rotated, this, like if the character is like, if its shoulders are parallel to the ground, the shoulders should follow the perspective. So then I can also make an educated guess that, for example, the neck will go like this, and then if this is like a chin of a character, like this part, and it's looking like straight forward, then like the face should also, well, let me redo it. Then, for example, the face will also be in a box, and the box will follow the same perspective. Here's like the spine, and I know the pelvis will now go like this. And if I know, for example, that this knee, like let's say this character is in the middle, and that this knee is touching this part and this knee is touching this part, then I also get a foreshortening type of a thing. Those proportions are absolutely messed up, but just to give you an idea. And then I can like do the rest of the legs, but everything just goes according to the perspective. So I'm just following the really simple lines to draw the basic shapes. But the problem starts to occur when you have all this like wild foreshortening. So for example, if this character will twist and everything, you can draw it based on the experience. So for example, you did 20 drawings of this pose, and you generally know how to draw it pretty much from the memory, from like the get-go, and you can draw it like efficiently in this pose. But generally speaking, pose a character and just use a 3D for it, for the dynamic poses. It will be just a little bit more accurate. Also, let me show you how it might look like in 3D. So let's have, this is a 3D code, and yeah, if I have a character like this standing, and let's say I want to do something like really, oh no, this like really dynamic, but let's say stupid dynamic for the sake of showcasing the problem. Let's do something like this. So like, I mean, you can, of course, draw something like this from imagination. The better you are, most likely the easier it will be for you. But good luck doing it like properly in perspective with like a weird camera setup or something like this. Some of those foreshortenings just will be like borderline impossible to do, especially from like angles like this. This will be just hard. That's pretty much all that I can say about it. So if I do know that I will be doing something like this, the easiest thing is to just do it in the perspective. I have like some really basic grid in here. I'm not sure how I could make more detailed grid for it, but yeah, it gives me like the general idea. Perspective grid it's somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is. So this is like the ground plane. So now I have like the vertical line, I have the like vanishing lines and everything, and now I get a better understanding. So yeah, draw it on your own. I might like redraw it just to understand it, but if I will have like a full scene prepared in 3D, then I will just draw on top of the 3D scene. And then adjust it accordingly to how I feel it should be. Because sometimes if you have something like this, so for example this, it might just look a bit odd, and just for the sake of making something look more correct, you might need to enlarge the hand like 1.5 times or something like this, because it just might be, it might just like be proper, but it might not look proper. So sometimes you might just need to lie in your drawing to make it look correct. And yeah, but definitely it's before jumping into like all the 3D redrawing from the 3D and just using 3D as a base on everything, it's worth understanding what problems do you have, so you know why you are using certain tools to use them. Because for example, for this type of a character, for this type of a pose, I don't really need a 3D base. But for example, on the illustration that I did longest time ago, let me open only my art station. So for example, or something like this, print screen, this is old, 2 years. So for something like this, I had to use a 3D because this is a little bit more complex interactions between characters, and I wanted to make sure that these legs will be like properly, that the character in the back will like grab the things on the head properly, so that they will interact as intended. And I will see if I do have the, oh yeah, I do have it. Print screen. So this is pretty much on the other videos that I did on my YouTube channel that of course you have to watch now. This is like a rough sketch, like turbo rough sketch that just captured my general idea of the monster. This was like a 3D model that I prepared for myself in 3D code based on this sketch. And yeah, then I just was drawing on top of this one. So I had 100% certainty that this perspective is like accurate. And then for the sake of just making it a bit like more appealing, I think I just made the head smaller, moved it slightly below, stuff like this. Yeah, this is what I do, those type of things. But I want to get more and more like, let's say, better at drawing, so I don't want to always need to use 3D for those type of stuff. So I try to practice just drawing, and those challenges, those things that I'm doing right now, are mostly oriented for me improving on those type of things. So I won't need to go to the 3D, sculpt everything, and just do so. I can just deliver some concepts more quicker. But if you want good results, if you want like a proper perspective, every single artist is using those type of things. So hello, Simon Marczyk. Yeah, they are a little bit not that the hours are not really convenient if anyone is like living in Europe. So, but I tend to work through the day, and then I only have some time during after work in a sense, or just like in breaks before work. So only then I can do some live streams. I was thinking maybe about doing them in the morning of my time, but again, nobody have time to watch anything in the morning because they are like in the work or whatever. And of course, I don't want to anyone skip work or school because of the streams, because those are so entertaining. So yeah, but yeah, the hours are odd. It would be a bit easier to like live in USA and stream around the evening. This would make the most sense, but well, I'm not living in the USA and I stream when I can. And also now it's a bit like more silent, so yeah. And also back in the days, I would stress my shit over drawing this stick in like one go, so no like messy line, but just like one nice beautiful curve. Now I absolutely do not care. So, oh, I want this guy to have like some fur on the weapon, some like straps and shit, and the edge I want to be visibly like tilted. So this guy basically is like long range poker type of a character, type of a monster. So if you have a Cyclops, let's say, this guy could poke his eye out, but also he can provide a relatively nice like frontal line. So if you have like 100 of them just standing on top of each other, just doing like a hedgehog with all those things, all those spikes, then they might actually be pretty effective even as a low S tier unit that basically has like no other skills. So yeah, this is how I like to do them. And they can always like wear flags or hunt or do whatever with the spears. So yeah, those might be a bit useful. It's goofy. It was always goofy. Let me show you. Units. I mean, it's semi. Maybe back in the days it used to be serious, but it is not really. It's more like light-hearted fantasy. So you have this type of a castle, so you know, dragon in a castle, hydra in a swamp, a minotaur in a maze, gargoyle, centaurs, griffins. I would say this is like a classic definition of like a fantasy in a sense. Like if you think fantasy for kids that is appealing, it's fantasy. Heroes, the newer heroes are a bit more serious, but they are still kinda goofy. They're a little bit more cartoonish. I would say those are much more like happy and colorful. So for example, this is the Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Yeah, like Might and Magic 3. So those are kinda serious, but again on the fairy tale side. I would say those are like fairy tales and stuff like this. And I like this approach, but I always liked a bit more serious settings in a sense that everything is a little bit more rough and realistic. I kind of always enjoyed this part of fantasy a bit more. It's like dark fantasy or something like this. So yeah, it works. Yeah, this is also why I would suggest using photos if you can to use photos, because 3D won't, like 3D will give you like a base for the perspective, but it won't give you a lot of the subtleties. So for example, if you are painting knights fighting together, you will get away with vast majority of the things because it's like a solid geometry and stuff like this. But I guess what really showcases the fact that you should use the photos is those type of things from like MMA fights and everything, because like 3D won't show you like the impact, like the skin distortion and everything. Those are the things that are just like you will only see those in the photos, like it's like a split second of a moment. But this is what should be on art. You shouldn't showcase the moment like the second before the hit or after the hit when the face like is like fully intact. For maximum display, you should showcase like this exact moment when like something interesting happens. So only then the art actually is like really intense. And even in slow motions, you can see how much weird stuff is happening when you get kicked on the face. I mean, this photo is actually kind of interesting. So I mean, something face like this would go easily as a monster, but this is like just a guy getting kicked in his chin, and you can see how face deforms, like how everything in here moves through the kick, even the ear. This would easily go through like a monster face. Like if you would see this type of a creature in a game, you would be like, yeah, immaculate. But this is what happens. So yeah, this is what happens. Hello, Mikołaj. And yeah. So this is this stuff. And even like as I said, even for this type of a thing, I would draw a knee somehow from the imagination, but I would just miss on all the interesting details. Yeah. So I mean, shits happen. Okay, this is this. Okay, the thing that I usually like to do also when I finish a sketch is to just select it and make it slightly wider. I don't know why, I usually tend to draw things a little bit too narrow, so I want them to be a little bit wide there. This ear should be slightly shorter. And then I might have like some shit on their ears, like piercing or whatever. And also the piercing on the nose that I wanted to include. I want him to have this. And some nipples. I want him to have nips. So yeah, I would say from the line art part, this guy is like done. And now it's time to block the shapes, so boring stuff. Time to do. For blocking the shapes, where is the white layer? Here it is. For blocking the shapes, if your line art is intact, and soon we will see if mine is intact. Usually it's not somewhere and it's causing all sorts of the problems. The easy way is to just go absolutely like barbaric on it. So you don't care about the line art, you go out of the lines, and this is not what people try to teach you in a school. But you take a magic eraser, like the eraser tool, the one that just erases stuff, and you go with sample all layers, and then it will sample all layers, and then it will remove the stuff from where the line art is not open. As you can see, my line art is open as hell from left to the right, and it's full of holes. So, but some places are okay, some places were closed. But yeah, if you spend a little bit more time on a line art to make it like really tight and definitely closed, then this would pretty much, after one click, give you a nice mask for the entire thing. So yeah, but in my case it was not really open, but yeah, on the hand it was open. But if you have to do something that is extremely complex and you know you have a nice line art, then this is like a really time saver. So in here it works, in here it does not. So yeah, and the same thing happens with this. You can select all layers for the layer fill, and you can also close the area and just like pour the bucket. And you can usually easily see where it's opened. And the problem is like 1 pixel hole is enough for the tool to not work, but yeah, you can see it. Increased tolerance. So you can close the holes, and the head is still open somewhere. I have not the slightest clue where. In here, I guess, and in here, and the head is filled. But yeah, usually in my case, it starts nicely, and then I just have to do everything manually. So this is the story of my life while doing those type of things. Yeah, and actually filling the masks are like one of the things that I really like. I do consider it. Even today I was looking at them and the prices, and it's still expensive. I still don't need it that much. Maybe I will wait if they will like release like 2 or 1 more model, so maybe the older ones will get cheaper. But the thing is, I would highly prefer to get the one that is 4K, because I noticed when I'm using the full HD screens, I tend to it tend to wear my eyes out really quickly or much quicker. And the 4K screens, just like I can just sit near them for the days and nothing really happens bad with my eyes, or at least I hope nothing bad happens with them. But before even buying like a screen tablet, I would buy like glasses that blocks the blue light, so I won't mess up with my sight. And I plan to buy them for like really longest time ago, for like really long period of time. But I also need to go my vision checked and everything, so most likely I will have to wear some glasses to like just protect my eyes. and whatnot. But yeah, but the problem is the 4K screen tablets are expensive, and I am not willing to invest any money in other brands than Wacom. Because like, okay, Wacom might be more expensive, but at least I know with the price the quality really will be delivered, so I'm not risking it. Yeah, the things that will just block the blue light. So it's not that you don't see blue color. It just blocks. I don't even know how to explain it to you, but it don't block the color. You will see the colors exactly the same. It will just stop the wavelength to. I can't answer this question. You will see the blue color in it. This is as much as I can tell. I remember once I was checking this, and the explanation was like it is just blocking the bad wavelength. Uh, yeah, well, that's true. Procreate is also cool. The thing is, depends what you do. Photoshop is still a standard. In my workplace, I would die if I would try to do everything in Procreate. It will be low-key impossible. I have to have everything in PSD pretty much because everybody uses it. All the files that I get are pretty much PSD. So Procreate is fine and cool. I could sketch in it, but in the end, it will have to go to Photoshop pretty much. So yeah. Okay, the mask is done. Energy drinks, but I drink them during the day. I don't really like coffee. And I like, or maybe I don't like, but my life prefers me, and the way my body behaves always prefers me to just go late at night to sleep and wake up, let's say 10 a.m. I believe I am. I don't remember when I was the last time using it. Wait, it's 11 a.m. 11 in the morning. Can you say 11 in the morning? Yeah, 11 a.m. So I tend to wake up around 11, 12 a.m. or something like this, because usually all the feedback that I get in my workplace is coming down around this hour. So I'm not logging into work and just waiting 5 hours for feedback because this would be like stupid in terms of like managing time. So yeah, then this is the way I live. So yeah. I think the question is what dramatic thing do you think about? I don't think much when I go to sleep. I'm just like, I know when I have to like lay down to just go to sleep pretty much. Sometimes it happens, like let's say once a month that I'm not that I'm thinking way too much and I can't sleep. But recently I learned that it is caused by when you want to go to sleep, your brain, like part of your brain is sleeping faster, and because this other part like went to sleep or is getting ready to go to sleep, the other part that is responsible for like remembering and thinking or something like this is like just going haywire because it can, because nothing is like stopping it. I don't remember the terms. It was like a video on YouTube, but if you will like search for something along the lines of like why do I think more before sleeping or stuff like this, it will have the answer. It was quite interesting actually to listen to learn the reason. And also the thing is, a lot of people are creative on the toilet and under the shower because all the things that you do on the toilet and under the shower are so usually automatized by your like brain. If you will start even like being aware of the things that you do, usually you will always do the same pattern of movements, and your brain just shuts down at this moment, and you can turn on the creative thing, not intentionally, but your brain will do it for you. And yeah, and then you can like think more because your brain is not occupied by actually thinking. It just like it goes to this uh, not thinking mode. Weird. So just download different textures, download different brushes. It's like this. I do have some brushes like this, the one that you mentioned, for example, like this one. Maybe not a canvas type of a thing, but it has like this texture to it. Or is it just different brushes? I do believe the brushes of Greg Rutkowski have a lot of this like canvas feeling to them. I try to use them, I just can't. Yeah, this has like this, maybe not a canvas, but a texture. I actually like this brush, I forgot I have it. I don't know why it's in clouds, but it goes in here right now. Anyway, I had a brush that had this like this canvas type of a feel to it. Well, I don't know which one it was, but yeah, it's just turn off in the brush settings the double brush thing. At some point I will finally finish the video about the brushes, so there you will have the answer for your question. But yeah, the best page to download brushes is digitalbrushes.tumblr.com. This has all the answers pretty much. And the leather of this thing I want to be like this, and this will be like this type of a color. It's like dirty type of a hue. New layer. Alt G. So this will be like the leather. Animal leather, and those will be made out of the same material. The hair can be like brownish, not like black, but brownish. I want them to be dark. I didn't even know this, but yeah. Apparently you can just like press a button to turn off the texture, so yeah, as you can see, it's really easy. And also the thing is with the Photoshop, like, I mean, I do bitch about it all the time because the Photoshop is not what it used to be. It was much more like, let's say, artist-friendly program. It was not lagging. It was working actually well. It was not causing a lot of problems. But now it's just like each update kind of destroys the software more and more. But yeah. But recently I have seen a guy who was posting that he like on 9gag. I don't know if it's verified, but it's usually relatively legit info that he works for major CAD company, and that they were told that they have to bottleneck and include some bugs in their software, so the people will buy a newer versions of the software, hoping that the problems will get solved. What is going on right? Did I? Yep. The first preview crashed. I'm opening a Cyclops because I want the color of the leather. What do you prefer more, science fiction or fantasy? For movies, science fiction. For every other thing, fantasy, I would say. Fantasy has this just like something that is a little bit more interesting in it for me personally. And yeah. And also a thing that in Photoshop is crushing my Photoshop is the rulers. If I have those on, the brushes lag, the input lags all the time. If I turn those off, Photoshop works fine. The rulers are like messing up my Photoshop big time. I have not got clue why. But yeah, with the fantasy, I feel it's slightly more interesting because like in science fiction, in a sense, there's like a limit of the things that you can do, and it's like this technology or that technology. In fantasy, you can still experiment a bit more with the setting, with the things that you are doing, and you can get a little bit more crazy with some stuff. And of course, you can have magic, you can have demons. I would say fantasy is much more versatile than science fiction because honestly, what science fiction is not similar to other science fiction from the past like 10 years? Like I have problems to like distinguish sometimes one thing from the other. And in fantasy, I can easily say, oh, this is this fantasy, this is that fantasy. It just it has more possibilities to it. Old version is best for me. What do you mean old version? Like old fantasy or what? Westworld. Yeah, Westworld was a bit different. That's true. I forgot about it. It is a bit different, but still, I think relatively easy. Okay, the Dune was really different, but Dune was, I would even say, a bit more fantasy than science fiction because it had this like more like magic elements to it, and there were pretty much no computers in the entire movie. So this is like I would say the Dune is like a smart mix between those two. Star Wars, yeah, Star Wars, like Star Trek, and dozen different movies is like the same thing, pretty much. Alien was nice because Alien has this like really nice, interesting stylistic twist on it. It has like the vibes of the like 80s or something like this. Don't hang me if I said it incorrectly, but it just has an interesting setting. It's not generic, and you can easily distinguish one from the other. But yeah, other than that, there is this. And in fantasy, you can have like a dark fantasy, high fantasy, low fantasy, this fantasy, that fantasy. And even for the movies, like Harry Potter, like one. Like if we were to compare the worlds of like Harry Potter 1 and I don't know, Dark Souls, maybe. There are some common elements, but yeah, there are vastly different worlds in a sense. Even in the Magic the Gathering thing, I can easily imagine how many more different things they can do for Magic the Gathering, but I have a hard time. Like, I mean, there's like 20,000 cards or something, or even more at this point of Magic the Gathering. So I can easily imagine them adding like another 20,000 and they won't run out of the ideas. But I can't imagine what else they would do if they had to deliver the same amount of cards for like a science fiction. Yeah, the Geiger is true. Those are like the OC of cool fantasy. But again, this is like a I would say even the Geiger is like also the mix of the science fiction and fantasy, because it's not like science fiction because there's like not a lot of science in it, but there's like the style is a bit more like fantasy, but it has mechanical elements like this biomechanical type of things to it. So again, yeah, it's just the thing. And now for this guy, I'm trying to introduce a bit of a different hues for the skin, so the legs can be like easily a little bit dirtier and darker naturally, because he like walks on them. And the hands can be slightly dirtier. I just want to introduce some like different hues to the thing. And also I would say generally speaking, fantasy is a bit more appealing because it is something that is kind of unknown and will, in a sense, never will be known. And science fiction is something that we pretty much are leaning forward to with our world. So like we are just getting there as a civilization. So it just like naturally will happen at some point. So yeah, it just happens as we are living, as we are speaking right now. For example, like 20 years ago, no one would think that you can just connect from with a random dude somewhere and just like talk with him like we do right now. So yeah, there is this. Spear. And now it is happening. Whoops, forgot to lock the layer. And now I'm just bringing some basic noise for everything that is happening in here. And for the basic colors, I want the nips to be also darker as they are in the reference. And the belly button also will be darker. And the fingers and the feet, the hand. Yeah, so this is this. I guess the line art and the drawing and the base colors are it. I will only introduce some variety to the skirt, and I will have to think about it a bit more because it's blending with the background a lot. So we will see how it will go. But this is this. On the next stream, I believe I will just lay down the shadows and light and try to do the stuff to do all the other things. Rendering. Yeah, rendering is interesting. I usually like the most the invention of the character. The rendering is more like just sitting and just doing it. You can kind of turn off your brain if you have already everything set up. But yeah, in the next stream I will do the shadows and figure out all the light and everything as it should be figured out, and then I will, I don't know, end the stream and do another stream. And yeah, so thanks for watching and thanks for tuning in. If you have like any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. The Discord server link is in the description, so if you would like to just step by, be there, send your artworks or whatever for a critique or ask some questions or interact, feel free to go there. Like, subscribe, all the other basic shit. And I'm going out, so see ya. Thanks for watching and have a good day.